Hello friends, this is Radu from Think It Lift, and with me today is no other than Greg O'Gallagher from kinobody.com. How's it going, Greg?
It's going great, man. How are you?
I'm pretty awesome myself. It's
Good.
great to have you back.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we'll discuss some really awesome topics. You'll hear about what makes an aesthetic physique, which is, I guess, is the goal of most guys going to the gym. Then you'll hear about why relative strength is the main indicator of the quality of your physique and why you should train for strength. And finally, we'll discuss why lifting 3 days per week is a very effective way to build muscle and strength. This is going to be cool.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. This is my bread and butter. I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, so getting into the first topic, which is what makes a physique attractive. I know you promote gaining muscle strategically in certain parts of the body and also staying lean.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of and just kind of to preface for a second, like, why would anyone want to look good? Why would anyone want to have a great body? I mean, it sounds like a silly question, but a lot of people like pretend they don't want to like train to look good. Like, oh, I don't care about how I look. I just want to be functional, which is funny because usually they're not functional, and usually deep down they're like, shit, I really wish girls liked my body. But most guys, they're honest with themselves. There's that one movie they saw, that one movie with that actor that got in a crazy shape, and that's how they wanted to look. Like for me, it was a few different movies. It was like Never Back Down, like Cam Gigante, how shredded he was. That was cool. It was like Brad Pitt and Troy or Fight Club. Christian Bale in American Psycho. Like we see this and we're like, shit, that's how I want to look. But then we start reading about fitness. We start finding bodybuilding sites, and then they just promote the idea of getting huge. And then we're like, oh, I guess we should do that. But why?
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
Yeah, and then you get into the mentality of getting as strong as possible, including squats and deadlifts, and you develop that disproportionate physique, bottom heavy. So yeah, I really like the kinobody physique philosophy.
Kind of the kinobody physique, and really what kind of looks most attractive is when you have a solid level of muscle development and a great level of leanness. And you talked about this earlier. You're like, you talked about definition, and a lot of proportion is having a low body fat, because you can't have great proportion at 20% body fat. It's not going to happen. If you have a 36-inch waist and like all your areas are kind of just puffed, rounded, like filled with fat, it's not going to look good. Like people don't talk about this enough, but body fat's a huge part of proportion. If you like looked at two pictures of me when I was training the same way, same muscle development, one at 13% body fat, one at 7%, the proportion's crazy different.
Absolutely.
So so one of the main things is obviously getting very, very lean. And then the second is to emphasize the muscle groups that contribute most to a masculine, well-developed aesthetic look. And that's like the upper chest. A lot of times it's hard to build that upper chest area, and guys don't do enough incline presses. The shoulders take a long time to grow. So shoulders are super important. And then of course, to develop that good solid V ratio, so you have a solid, commanding shoulder to waist ratio, you need to do a lot of pull-ups. And you need to build that back up, because that back is what contributes most to the broad shoulders. And then it helps create that V line to your waist. So really it's like the upper chest, the shoulders, and the back really give you the structure of a great looking physique. And then from there, of course, you have to like flip your arms, and you have to, address your legs. Your legs are, they could be either too skinny or they could be on the bulkier side.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the aha moments I had when I started in kinobody is the fact that getting lean first makes the biggest difference in your physique, in how you look. Because many times I get emails by guys who are in that purgatory zone, where they are unhappy with their size, but they're also unhappy with their definition. And they, of course, would like to remain at the same size, but with increased definition. And they don't understand that would mean gaining muscle and losing fat at the same time at a crazy rate. So they refuse to accept that they have to be either a little skinnier than they'd like to be for a while, or a little fatter, because you have to choose between those two goals. And I almost always tell them that it's better to choose to cut, to shrink that waist, because that will make the biggest difference in their proportion and how they look.
No, that's exactly true. And this is why when I coach people, I like to work with people that want to drop body fat, because in 3 months' time, you can gain like maybe 5-6 pounds of muscle. And that will look good if you're 10% body fat or less. But if I can take someone in 3 months from basically 14% body fat to 9%, they're going to look 10 times better. The difference is night and day. Their face becomes more chiseled. Their abs start to pop out. Their chest becomes more square. Their shoulders start to get separation into their arms. And everything just looks much better. And that's why models, like if you ever look at just models, underwear models, fashion models, swimsuit models, they all have to be very, very lean, because they know that it looks way better. If you have a bit of fat here and there, it just ruins the entire look. But to have that really crisp, solid, attractive look, the body fat has got to be in check.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, it also sets you up for a perfect lean bulking phase after that. Because if you start a bulking phase when you're 14% body fat, then you're gonna look awful at the end of the bulk.
Yes, very true.
Yeah.
And that's a mistake a lot of people make, because they get obsessed with this whole idea of getting bigger. They think of numbers like, oh, I want to have 16-inch arms. Oh, I want to have this big chest. I want to wear a large t-shirt. And they get obsessed with those numbers, and I want to weigh 200 pounds. And they get obsessed with all these numbers that sound cool. You know what's cool? Not being fat as you know what's cool? Like looking good. I mean, I guess we'll get into this later, but like, you know what's cool is like actually lifting a hell of a lot more than you weigh.
Absolutely.
Doing 100 chin-ups or something. That's what's cool.
Which is, go ahead.
Oh no, go on. Yeah.
So that was what I wanted to transition into, which is the idea of relative strength. So you being much stronger compared to your body weight is actually the key to making your body look cool. And I really like that at the end of your courses, you give those kinobody standards, which are awesome, because for the first time you can actually have a specific goal that when you reach it, you're going to look a certain way, which is very motivating.
Dude, I'm glad you said that, because this is so important, because people struggle to see with muscle building a great physique. It takes time to add 10, 15, 20 pounds of muscle. It takes a long time. And so it's discouraging. You're like, people are like, oh my God, I have to train for a year to put on 15, 20 pounds of muscle. That's insane. And then the progress is slow. You're not gaining a pound of muscle a week. It doesn't happen unless you're on steroids. And they're like, shit, like it's so discouraging. But it's like, dude, okay, forget about your weight, okay? Hold up. Forget about building these 20 pounds of muscle, okay? Put that away. Okay, right now, you're doing 5 chin-ups with your body weight, okay? When you can do 80-pound chin-ups for 5 reps, okay? Forget about your weight, forget about all that. When you can do 80-pound chin-ups for 5 reps, you're gonna look like a god, okay? When you get your little incline bench press with the bar to 200 pounds for 5 reps, your chest is gonna blow people away. Just wear that V-neck and then it's game over. Then people are like, okay, I can do that. Okay, cool. Like they're adding 5 pounds a week. They're like, oh my God, I'm getting to the goal. Because it's just so fleeting, trying to focus on the scale and like gaining muscle, and then it's like, oh, am I gaining muscle? No, I'm gaining fat. But it's like, okay, when you actually look at your lifts progress, and then you make sure your waist isn't getting bigger. So your waist is getting bigger and your lifts are going up. Well, you're just turning into like a bigger, puffier version of yourself. Your waist is staying taut, and then your strength's coming up. That's when you start to look like a Greek god.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was talking with my training partner, and he said, Radu, I don't know, when I was training, before I was training with the Greek God program, I don't know what I was basing my progress on, because I wasn't tracking my lifts. Mm-hmm. How would you know you're gaining muscle? How do you know you're getting towards your goal? So yeah, these strength standards are awesome to follow. Okay, I want to transition into talking about training, and you really have an orthodox approach, I'd say, to training. It really is different from what's out there, but it's also very effective. So training 3 times a week, most guys would say that you can't possibly build a good physique with that, but it's actually pretty amazing. So I wanted to ask you, when in the past, Greg, you used to train 5-6 days a week with a lot of volume. Why did you make such a drastic change and started lifting 3 days a week with low volume?
Okay, that's a good question. I guess all of us, well, you know what, actually, I started lifting 3 days a week when I first started training. That's actually, I made some incredible gains when I first started getting into working out when I was 14 years old. I would do lifting 3 days a week. On my other days, I do some boxing or track, and I put on. I have this notebook in my house somewhere, and it was literally like I was 14 or 15, and I was training 3 days a week, and I write down my lifts every week. I was like getting stronger, 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 and it was over the course of like a year, and I was smashing it. So I actually made my initial progress is spurred off of training 3 days per week. I always went to the gym. I felt strong. I felt motivated to lift, and everything went up really nicely. The problem was that I was doing, back in that time, I was doing starting strength. So I was doing a lot of squats and deadlifts. Okay. So eventually it worked well, but eventually it's like, okay, my upper body's stalling, and then my legs are continuing to grow. So then I did more of like I had to kind of adjust it back then and do more upper body work. But then, yes, I got into training more often. I'd gone to training 4, 5, 6 days a week, and here's the problem. Okay, it's you don't get that much stronger. Like, you'll get stronger if you're weak. If you're weak and you start lifting every day, you'll get stronger. But if you're at the point where you're already pretty strong, then it's so easy to plateau training 4, 5, 6 days a week as a natural, because as a natural, what steroids do for you is it like makes your recovery so much faster. You can just keep hammering the gym. Your body, like the recovery happens so much faster, so you can gain muscle faster. Mm-hmm. As a natural, you don't have that luxury. And so when you're training 5, 6 days a week, your body is always in a state of recovery. So people think like, okay, I just need my muscles to recover. I hit my biceps on Monday. I'm not hitting them again until Friday. That's fine. Well, here's the thing is whenever you do some strength training, it's not just your muscles that get taxed, it's also your nervous system. So if you do heavy legs on Monday, the next day, whether you do chest or shoulders or biceps or whatever, you're not going to be as strong because your nervous system is still recovering. People don't understand that. So when you get to that advanced level, it's hard to get stronger training that often. And if you're not getting stronger, you're not going to get that much bigger. So yeah, that's the main issue. And the only way you get bigger is if like you start doing more and more volume, because you can gain some muscle size just by doing more sheer volume, but that gets capped very quickly. So like Radu, if I was to basically try and get you into the volume lifting, not worry about strength, get you to do a lot of volume, sure, you might put on a bit of muscle for that first month, and then you'd plateau. And then if you took a few days off the gym, you'd be like, what the fuck, where are my muscles going? If you you'd be like, so you become a slave to the gym, and then it's like, you're stuck. You're already doing like 50 sets a week on this muscle. You can't do 60. What are you going to live in the gym? And then if you try and do more, you just get more overtrained and weaker. So it doesn't work. And I realized this, and really, there's a couple types of people that succeed on high volume workouts. One of which is people that are taking lots of steroids because they can handle it, and they'll gain muscle, doing anything.
I like how Lyle puts it, that they succeed in spite of their training. In spite of the training,
exactly. Lyle McDonald, yes. The second type of person you'll see is someone that does not give a shit about looking good. They're cool being 30% body fat, so they're eating their 4,000 calories per day, and they have all the energy in the world to train. There's some people like that are like all praise in the high volume camp. It's like, dude, get to 8% body fat and try and do your high volume shit. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then the third of which is like some genetic anomalies. I don't know. Some people, a small subset of the population, seems to respond to high volume pretty well, but it doesn't last that long because eventually they plateau, and then it's like, okay, what's happening? And this is what a lot of bodybuilders figured out. Even bodybuilders on steroids, like, well, actually, what's his name? Like one of the power bodybuilding guys. I forget what he like Mike O'Hearn or something. He does a very sort of hybrid bodybuilding powerlifting style where he focuses on getting stronger. But he's also on steroids. But even still, he's got an amazing physique, even though he's on steroids. Like he's got, considering he's on steroids, he still looks better than most people on steroids. But so yeah, I was stuck. I was like, okay, I'm not getting stronger. I'm not looking better. What's going on here? And I knew that for me to progress, I needed to get my lifts up. I need to get my shoulder press up. And I started to like doing some research into this. And I was like, okay, this makes sense. Because at the time I was like, I don't know, 19 or 20 or something. I was like, this makes sense because back when I was 14, 15, I just started lifting. I was making such good results. I wasn't really hitting plateaus. And I was lifting 3 days per week. So maybe there's some truth to this. And I was like researching on all this stuff. I was starting to feel burnt out at the gym. And then I did the 3 days per week. And sure enough, every day I came in stronger. Everything started going up. It was amazing. And I was able to do that while dropping fat, get stronger while dropping fat. And I started intermittent fasting around that same time. And everything was like, I was like losing fat, building muscle. I was feeling so satisfied. I wasn't feeling deprived. And I was like, shit, I've got something here. And then I started to have to like basically focus on the ratios, focus on the key lifts, incline press, overhead press, weighted chins and stuff.
Yes, this idea of having key lifts is, I think, one of the backbones of making low volume training work, because so many people get caught up in this idea that you need to have a lot of exercises to progress. But it's actually not true, because if you think about it, you cannot picture a skinny guy lifting a big weight. It's just not possible. But you can, and you've seen a lot of skinny guys do a lot of high volume. So that should tell you that there is something about strength that gives you size.
Yeah, that's 100% true. You're not gonna see like basically a guy that has a shitty chest, a small chest. You're not gonna see a small chest dude incline bench pressing 225 for 6 reps.
Yeah, you may see for 1 rep, because maybe powerlifters or something, but we're talking about getting stronger in a medium rep range.
Yeah, that's a huge point. I'm glad you brought that up, because if you're doing like a lot of Olympic lifters or power lifters, they're able to gain strength without putting on that much muscle because they completely train their nervous system. So they keep the reps in the 1 to 3 rep range. And when you're just doing 1 to 3 reps, you're not getting that much volume, so you're not really stimulating that much growth. Muscle growth requires a mix of volume, frequency, and intensity. And so if you're just doing high intensity but low volume, well, you're not going to get the maximum muscle growth, because it's better to add that extra volume, and then the intensity just decreases a little bit. So yes, the key is getting stronger in that 4 to 8 rep range.
Yeah, and something funny. Most guys here in Romania train with the classic bodybuilding split. 5-6 days a week. Each body part gets its own day. 20-25 sets of, I don't know, 8-12 reps, which is, I can't even picture how these guys get through their training, because I'm sure you'll agree with this, Greg, but if you go in the gym and you work hard for 6 sets, you're fried. You can't possibly do 20 sets and be efficient in all of them.
No way. No, you really can't. You can't be efficient. And that's why it's good to strip away the unessential, like Bruce Lee says, just focus on the key stuff that matters. Because I recommend doing 4 or 5 exercises per workout, just 4 or 5, 2 or 3 good hard sets per exercise. But once you start doing more than that, it ruins the stuff that matters, because then you can't pour yourself into that. If you only have to do 4 or 5 exercises and a few sets, you can pour yourself into that set.
And when people start a fitness journey, or they want to reach a certain kind of a body, the normal mentality is for you to do as much as you can to reach your goals fast. But they don't realize that more is not necessarily better in the beginning.
It's exactly right. People believe that the more they put into something, the more they'll get out. But working out is very different in that you have to think about the recovery. You have to think about what it's going to take to recover. You can't just pour more and more and more into it and think you're going to get more out, because the more you put into it, the more stress you're putting onto your body. Working out is stress, and you have to recover at some point. So people kind of get stuck into this idea, like, I need to do as much as possible, and then just it backfires. I mean, and then, like, you know, back to the whole idea of doing more and more. I mean, imagine you're trying to become a mixed martial arts fighter, okay? And it's better to become really good at those key movements, you know, being able to throw your jab out, you know, drop a couple knees and elbows, and, you know, be really good at a couple takedowns, you know, a couple submissions. When you're first training, like, perfect those movements, than to try and learn everything. Because fighting, like, you have to be so good at that move to be able to knock it off in a full force fight. And so, I mean, training's the same way. It's like, it's better to get really good at that incline press, because if your incline press goes up, you'll be strong at everything that involves pushing. Everything, like, your triceps will be strong, you'll be strong on flat bench, like, everything. Because people get caught up in trying to hit the muscle from so many different angles, okay? They want to do incline press, they want to do flat bench, they want to do decline, they want to do dumbbell incline, they want to do flies, they want to do cable crossovers, they want to do 5 exercises for chest. And you can't get stronger when you're doing all that. Just like when you're trying to learn 5 takedowns at once, you're like, I can't do any of this shit. I can't pull any of this shit off. It's like, hey, if you get your incline bench press up, maybe perchance you'll be, if you're stronger here, maybe you'll be stronger here too. And you will, like, you will. I mean, sometimes I'll go a year or 6 months without doing dips, and I'm stronger sometimes. Just because it's just the body, like, there's a carryover to it. You know, if you get really strong, like, I don't really do any rows, okay? I haven't had a need to do rows. I just build up to, like, really strong chin-ups or pull-ups. And yes, I can go on the row machine and I'll lift more than, like, the 220-pound bodybuilder easily, because it's just the body's smart. And if you get strong, like these movements, it's going to carry over to similar movements.
And, you know, in your articles, when you talk about minimalistic training, you give the oh man, I'm missing the word. How do you call a story that has a lesson in it?
I give, like, an anecdote, or
anecdote. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. So my dad actually gave me an excellent anecdote for lifting, but he didn't realize it. So my parents own a small orchard with apple trees, and one summer I was out there with my father, and as we talked, he reached out, grabbed a branch of the apple tree and started to rip off a few of the baby apples that were just growing on the branch. And I found that very weird, and I said, Dad, what are you doing? Don't you want to have a big harvest? And he said, yeah, that's what I'm doing, because if I decrease the number of apples on this branch, they will grow much larger than if all of them remained on it, because the growth potential of the tree would be will be focused to those remaining apples. And actually, in the end, the harvest will be bigger with a fewer number of fruits. And I thought, damn, that also works with training, because if you do, we're not a closed system, but we do have an limited recovery capacity. So if you spread that out over a lot of things, you progress very little in all of them. But if you focus on a few certain areas of your life, or lifts or anything, you progress a lot in those. So yeah, I thought that was a cool analogy.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Jeez. I know, that's good. Yeah.
And you also talked about this adaptation reserve while dieting. You promote a really low volume approach when you cut. Can you explain why that is?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Limited adaptational reserve. So when you're dieting, it requires you to eat less calories than your body burns in order to tap into your body fat. And in doing so, you're eating less, so your body doesn't have as much recovery potential. And so people want to train more when they're getting lean. Like, yes, I'm gonna get ripped for summer. I'm gonna work out 6 days a week, do cardio, and then this and this and this. And it's like, hey, dude, that's not gonna work. Because the goal on a diet is to maintain your muscle. And how do you maintain your muscle? It's mostly with intensity. So if most of your muscle growth is going to be the result of your strength level. If you can do 100-pound chest for 5 reps, that's what's going to be the result of most of your back muscle. The amount of volume you do, the amount of sets you do on a weekly basis is going to pay a much smaller percentage of your growth. So people get stuck into adding all this volume. It doesn't work. The main point is you can't let your strength come down on a cut. So if you're cutting, and let's say you bench press 200 pounds, and then after a 3-month cut, you're benching 170, your chest is gonna get smaller, no question about it. You need to be able to maintain that strength. And when you're cutting, it's harder to train as much. So it makes sense to drop the volume a bit, to make sure you can maintain optimal intensity and maintain that strength.
Yeah, because I don't know where these people get the idea that you have to train more when you diet, or that you have to increase the rep range, which is pretty stupid, because if you drop the weights, you will lose the adaptation. But if you maintain strength but drop down the volume, you will keep most of the muscle, as you said.
And I have a lot of people following my programs. They get a lot stronger while they're dropping body fat.
Yeah, and considering you're talking about the warrior shredding program, right?
Yeah.
That program has what, 1 or 2 exercises per muscle group per week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when people, I recommend your training style. So when guys read my site and see the training routines that I recommend, they say, man, I'm so scared to start this type of routine, because I'm used to doing 20 sets, and how will this grow my muscle? Will I maintain muscle? Yeah, how do you respond to these people?
That are worried about starting a lower volume routine and
Yeah.
Oh, am I gonna build muscle? You just gotta be like, okay, dude, just take the jump, man. You're here, man. Stop procrastinating, okay? What you've been doing hasn't been working. It's only got you here. You still have a long way to go. Are you gonna take the step, or you're not gonna? Okay? Do it for a month, see what happens. That's all. They have to be able to, if they're not willing to take action, then that's their own loss. You gotta be like, okay, I've given you everything you need. I've explained that basically, if you're getting stronger, if you're gonna be building muscle, that volume isn't that important, that volume is completely overblown. The amount of volume you want is the amount of volume that you can do while getting stronger. And it's not that much. So follow this routine, progress in your lifts, and muscle growth will happen, and it will blow you the F away. And everyone that follows these programs of mine, they used to do all these other workouts from different people, used to train way more. Like, Greg, I'm so glad I found this, because I'm finally making these amazing results. So point is do it for a month, commit to it, and see what happens. If it doesn't work, okay, go back to 5 days a week. But I really doubt it's not going to work.
Yeah, I doubt it also, because if it would have worked, they wouldn't be out there searching for information. Yeah. And this can be a psychological trick, because sometimes you would not allow yourself to find what works. There is this idea that you have to allow yourself to succeed, because if you view yourself as someone who cannot make progress, you will sabotage your efforts, because you wouldn't want to give up that identity. You talk about this also.
Exactly. That's beautifully put. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I experienced this also because there was a time where when I wasn't making progress, and I knew something was wrong, but I was unwilling to drop my routine, because if I were to succeed, I would miss my daily activity, which was searching for answers on the internet. So if I found the solution, I would remain goalless.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so subtle.
You never want to get into the trap of telling yourself, oh, I can't build muscle, this isn't going to work, I can't do this and this, I'm just someone that has bad genetics. Because then you're right, you'll sabotage yourself, you'll consciously sabotage yourself, and then all you'll see is the problems, like, oh, okay, no, this wouldn't work because of this wouldn't, yeah, that's not going to work because of that, or whatever. You got to look at the positive, and you got to really lose any of these identities that you've given yourself. Okay, give yourself a clean slate and make shit happen.
Yeah, this is big. Okay, I think we can wrap it up here, Greg. Thanks a lot for coming on the call. It was awesome. Hopefully we'll do some more of these in the future. Okay, so if you guys wanna connect with Greg, you can do so by going to his site, kinobody.com. He has an amazing resource put there. I'd say an absolute gold mine. You can find everything you need to know about training and nutrition for that Hollywood style body. And Greg is also on social media. You can connect with him through Facebook. His page is kinobody. And if you use Instagram, search for him. He's Greg O'Gallagher in one word.
Are you on Instagram?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am, but I'm not that active.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, I haven't seen you on Instagram.
Yeah. Okay, so until next time, take care, Greg.
Thanks so much for having me on, man. It's been good.
Yeah, it's been awesome. See ya.
Take care.
Visualizing the realism of life and actuality. Various women I'm swimming in like a shark, tear the pussy apart.